The way most of us are taught and practice scales is based around positions, and that's a great way to have an overview of the neck, but it's certainly not the only thing you want to check out. So in this video, I'm going to go over some examples that sound great, are easy to play, and are definitely not in position. And I'm also going to talk about how you start working and what you should practice to get stuff like this into your playing, so you don't end up being boxed into positions all the time. My name is Larsen. Learn jazz, make music. This is an example of something that is clearly a lot easier to play if you stick to the middle string set and then start moving around. So if we look at the benefits we get from moving around on the neck, the right hand is really consistent and that makes it easier to play. We can also have a very consistent phrasing, and that helps bringing out sort of the polyrhythmic nature of this melody, and is also easier to just shift around all these patterns, which happens to be triads in this example. You can play an example like this in one position as well, but it gets a lot more complicated and a lot less natural, something like this. So if you try to play the example like this, you can tell how it's much more difficult to get the phrasing across, and your right hand has to work a lot harder. So when you have to choose, you of course choose with the more practical, the easier option. If you play a phrase like this, then there is one thing that you do need to be aware of, and that is that you can keep playing wherever you end up. Because it might be cool for Star Trek
to boldly go where no one has gone before.
But it's not in particular cool or practical in a guitar solo that you have to stop in the middle and then go like, where's the C major 7? So you do want to know your positions and have a really good overview of the neck. And if you want to work on that and expand on that, then you can check out some of the videos that I'm linking to in the description of this video. So what do you check out? What do you practice to come up with something like the first example in this video? Because of course it's not enough to just practice playing the scale on one string, even if you also want to do that. The lick is constructed by shifting around diatonic triads on the middle string set. So that's really what you want to have in your playing, and that's what you want to check out. And you need this for two different scales. You need this for the G major scale. And also for the D altered or E flat minor scale. As you can see, I'm really consistent with my right hand, and that's because one of the big benefits of playing like this is that it's a lot easier for your right hand, and I can actually use that in the line to get the phrasing across that I want. Another thing that you also want to keep in mind with exploring stuff like this is that when you're checking out all these triads, you're working on knowing the harmony that's in the scales, and you have more things that you can use in your solos, and you always want to have more things you can use in your solos. Let's look at another variation of a lick you can make using these things. Next, let's look at an example of how you can use this way of shifting around on the neck to play more musical solos, and then I'll show you another example of a pattern that's 10 times easier to play if you don't stay in one position. This phrase is on D minor 7, B flat 7 to C major 7, and that's of course subdominant to minor subdominant to tonic in C major, and I'm actually using that to move the motif, as you'll see when I analyze the melody. So the first part of the melody is really just presenting the motif on the D minor 7. That's of course just based around a D minor triad really, and then moving the same thing up to an F minor motif on the B flat 7. So really using sort of the subdominant and then the F minor as a minor subdominant, developing the motif to resolve to the tonic to C major 7. Because the phrase is shifting up the neck, then it's easier to keep the same phrasing, and that makes it easier to repeat the motif. Even though I'm still being kind of loose about it and developing what I'm playing, then I don't have to worry too much about keeping the motif going. That would be a lot more difficult if I was to stay in one position. Another place where you can really benefit from playing arpeggios in a certain way and then move that around the neck could be something like this. Here both the C major 7 and the A minor 7 arpeggios are played as 1-1-2 arpeggios, and we kind of have the same type of advantages as we did with the first example, because we can kind of keep the same phrasing and the same execution in the right hand, and that makes it more natural to play and easier to get the phrasing right. Here we have first a C major 7 arpeggio, then an A minor 7, and I'm playing those with exactly the same type of phrasing. So I'm playing first a downstroke and then 3 upstrokes. And I'm using 1-1-2 arpeggio. So what I mean by that is that it's about how many notes we have per string. So we have 1, 1, and then 2. And that goes for both arpeggios. And that's what I'm using here. And that makes it just easier to play with this type of phrasing and get that sequence in there that's a part of the melody. Then on the D7, then I'm really just using like a B major triad to get to the 13 flat 9 sound, and then resolving to G major. Is this concept of thinking in 1-1-2 and 1-2-1 arpeggios something that you use? Is it something you want to know more about? Then let me know in the comments, because I guess it is something I could make another video on. It can be really useful to explore stuff like this because it opens up for some really nice melodies with just these similar arpeggio types. And if you want to practice towards doing that, then practicing diatonic arpeggios in third distance is a really good exercise. If you want to improve your fretboard overview so that you don't get lost and that you can always find whatever it is you want to play, then check out this video where I'm going over some exercises that are going to help your fretboard overview, but also really give you a stronger overview of the scales, the harmony and the diatonic chords that you need while improvising.